We have traveled the world in the Formula iR-04 Challenge, going to some of the greatest Grand Prix circuits that Europe and the rest of the world has to offer. But today we find ourselves in England at a tighter, twistier club-style circuit. Welcome everyone to Friday Night Prime Time for the Formula iR-04 Challenge. My name is DJ Clark, joined always by Zach Sweeney here in the booth with Joshua Lee as our director and producer behind the scenes. And Zach, you and I were talking before this race. This is a perfect style of track for these iR-04s to be able to head out on. It's going to be a fantastic day of racing. And as we get ready to go here, qualifying underway, as you can see, everything's starting to happen as they go, waiting for the last drivers to be able to put their times down as everybody comes and gets around this circuit. We have a big 22-car field out on track, currently following the #1 machine of Kane Halliburton right now as he comes around the circuit. They're kicking up a little bit of dust, it has to be said, and that's one of the things around this circuit you're going to have to watch out for. This is a club-style circuit, which means that there is not a lot of that paved runoff around the track to be able to take on and to be able to get going. So you got to be very, very precise with how you run. Now, obviously, waiting for all drivers to set their times down right now, working their way down the long Bentley straight. This is going to be one of the overtaking opportunities on this circuit, albeit a very tricky one going into Brundle and Nelson. We ride on board with Halliburton as he now works his way through Bomb Hole, literally named because there used to be a bomb hole there when this track was first constructed. As now he comes back around Mikel Cermak, the first driver to set a fast time coming down through Murray's right now. Halliburton trying to be the one to best that top time.
I'm here now. Can you hear me? Fingers crossed.
Loud and clear, Zach. How you doing?
Absolutely stellar. That was 2 weeks in a row now. We'll get it right one day, I promise. But no, I was saying Snetterton, as you said, it's a fantastic circuit to come here in these iR-04s. That is quite a mouthful, but yeah, it's like Donington. We were there just a couple of weeks ago, and just look at how good of a race that was. And yes, I'm a little bit biased because Snetterton is my local home circuit, but yeah, it really is a fantastic circuit. It's not one of those modern ones where you can rely on that abundance of tarmac runoff on your outside. It really is just the track, grass, and a big old challenge, and that long straight down in towards, you know, that chicane with Nelson. It really does. Well, I think it's one of the longest in the UK, so this is really going to produce some fantastic racing, and so far qualifying it is quite close as well.
Yes, it is. Not a whole lot separating there, but we still have more than half the field to set a time down as we ride on aboard with the #2 machine, TP Primo, right now coming under that bridge here at Snetterton and up the way into the corner. Overtaking going to be a little bit of a problem around here. It's not the easiest track to get on by, so I think a lot of drivers are going to be trying to prioritize this qualifying session, Zach, and make sure that they get themselves up towards the top of the charts.
Yeah, absolutely. Track position certainly is going to be important, but it's not impossible to overtake. Of course, we said the same about Donington, how that's going to be very single file. But again, as I said, that was a fantastic race. So yeah, we certainly will be in for a surprise. But Snetterton, it really is a circular place dividends to get yourself up towards the sharp end, as we see Cermak go into P2. Still 5/10 off Vittoria's Primo, then goes into second place. That's a little bit closer, more representative of where how close the top two are going to be. But yeah, it probably will be quite a tough challenge. Of course, as I said, we've got that long straight, so it won't be impossible, but yeah, qualifying certainly going to help.
Yeah, certainly going to help around here. We ride on board with Marin right now, looking out of the rear view of that #14 machine, kicking up just the right amount of dirt as he flicks his way out of Williams and onto the long Bentley straight. This is that moment on the track where drivers can relax for a minute, be able to take a breath. By the way, we are seeing Vico up into 8th place and Shinkovic up into 10th right now. The latest times coming on the board. Stefan McCready, Venhoff, Marin, who we ride on board with, and Hyam out on track. It looks like the other drivers opting maybe not to set a lap time down here. We only have a minute and a half left in the session. Some drivers look like they're opting to start from the back, maybe try to avoid a little bit of chaos going into Riches and Wilson on that first lap.
Yeah, I mean, turn one, it's quite a fast corner here at Snetterton, as you can take a lot of speed into it. So, you know, that turn one, lap one melee really is going to be something you want to avoid. And maybe they're just going to try and pick their way through, which certainly isn't the worst of strategies. But again, if they do get caught up, if things do remain clean down in towards turn one, which, you know, they really have at least over the, you know, last couple of weeks or so. So if they do get caught up in that traffic, it's going to be really difficult for them to make their way forwards.
Yeah, it certainly is. Traffic can play a big part. We check out the number 21 machine right here. That is Max Hyam as he comes around in that tricky, fiddly infield section that makes up this 300 circuit. Oh, is there. He runs a little bit wide coming through Williams. That is a suboptimal line.
Yeah, certainly, as Lewis McLeod would say, that's again, it's very easy to do. You know, Snetterton, it's an old circuit. It's going to have the grass on the left and the right hand side, and it's a club circuit as well, so it doesn't have to cater to the Formula One safety standard. So yeah, that grass really will play a big factor, and of course those massive sausage curbs as well through Nelson is also going to be quite difficult to avoid. But if you don't avoid it, it can have some pretty drastic consequences too.
Yeah, it certainly can. And that's the thing around here. As I said earlier, you've got to be pixel perfect to be able to really match times around here, be able to get them in correctly. As there, the qualifying ticker ticks over and qualifying is done. A large chunk of the field not setting times. Let's run you through our qualifying order here today and our starting grid. It is going to be Diego Vittori lining up in pole position, followed by TP Primo with Halliburton and Surmatch behind him. Maldi and Arano will be in 5th and 6th. 7th place will be Ben Skyle with Alexis Vico in 8th. Stefan Entmar will be in 9th, followed by Shinkovic in 10th. 11th is going to be Arnholm, followed by Henrik Andrensens in 11th place. And then 13th will be Christoph Marin, and Jan Wessels will be 14th. A lot of drivers out here not setting times that you're not seeing on that starting grid, so plenty of action still here to come. As there we wait on the rest of the field to sort of grid up here. Vittori being able to put his car in position right now, waiting for everybody else to come in. They've got about 2 minutes to get themselves set.
Yeah, so just waiting for everyone to get onto the grid, then we'll go underway. It's not the longest run down in towards turn one, so you really do have to get a good start. But pole position on that right-hand side, the dirtiest side of the grid, that certainly could be one to look out for if potentially the number 4 doesn't get the best of starts.
Yeah, exactly. And you can definitely get a good sweep around that outside. Potentially, that is definitely a way to be able to get a pass done. You can go to the inside, you can go to the outside, going through ridges. And so that will certainly be an area to be able to check out. Waiting for Carr Smith, Jay Black, and Desiree Florent to grid up now. As you can see, the rest of us here for the standing start. It's a 20-minute race, so an absolute sprint to the line here, Zach.
Yeah, no pit stops, nothing like that. It really is just pedal to the metal and absolutely go for it. And yeah, we saw, of course, in real life the GP4 and the GP3 championship not too long ago, about a month ago now. Well, it was the GP4 around Snetterton, but yeah, it really was a fantastic race and some really good action down in towards turn 1 and turn 2 as well.
Yeah, that heavy braking zone down into Wilson, definitely presenting an opportunity. As there we are ready to go. Engines start to harmonize as the lights come up, and there goes the flag. We are racing in Snetterton. It is a brilliant start for Halliburton, but there's contact between himself and Vittorio. That's going to really block up the rest of the field. Surmatch trying to get involved as well. We're almost 3 wide going down into turn 1. It looks like the number 4, and that is slipping off into oblivion. That is Luis Arano.
Oh my god, that is probably the worst way you could start this race, off onto your roof. But the number 2 leads under pressure is the number 4. He's got the number 1 on his outside line as they all try and funnel their way through in towards the infield section for the first time. But that really was probably the worst way you could start this race, and it was a flying start for the number 1 from 3rd on the grid. Unfortunately, couldn't really do much with it, and now has to defend for 4th place. Might be able to put some pressure on for 2nd, and you can now see that towards the left-hand side, and there goes the number 3, going to be late on the brakes. He's going to get the move done.
That is Surmatch being able to get by Kane Halliburton as they come around now through Hamilton, that left-handed kink before they go down into Augie's. This is all about setting up here for Williams and getting the run down the long Bentley straight. We continue to watch the number 3 of Surmatch able to get that late braking maneuver done. There is the 4 of Vittori. That was your pole sitter and lost out with a bad start there at the beginning. TP Primo up ahead into the lead of the race. We're going to go back and take a look at the start of this race. Talk us through this, Zach.
well, there's just so many cars going into one. The number 7, it was literally the slightest bit of contact, but these cars are very, very sensitive. Really didn't take much, and as we said, it really is a swooping corner. It is Rich's, so it didn't take much at all, and yeah, these cars are incredibly sensitive, and going that speed as well did not take much. Just trying to go through, keep it clean, and it was just the slightest bit of contact, but unfortunately just had the most drastic of consequences. Then everyone had to find their way through, so it was just one of those things, wrong place, wrong time, unfortunately, for him.
Yeah, wrong place, wrong time, but we've got a little bit of a battle here shaping up for P2 as of right now, or for P3 rather. There you can see it. That's Halliburton and Cermak really trying to go at each other down into the first corner. That's going to be Halliburton on the outside, Cermak on the inside. Who's going to be able to hold it out? They're going to be perfectly parallel as they come out of the corner. That is Claudio Maldi holding off behind as they're going to be side by side breaking down into Wilson. It looks like Cermak is going to have the advantage. Halliburton tries to fight back a little bit as they work their way down into Palmer. Is that going to play out? No, Halliburton's got to give up the ghost.
Great defense there from Cermak just to secure P3, and yeah, Halliburton really going to now have to, I guess, set up that move down in towards Nelson, the Nelson chicane, just in a couple of corners time. It's all about getting that exit off Williams and down the Bentley straight, but you can see they're very, very close. Primo has really just sailed off into the distance, 2 seconds clear of Vittori, so yeah, really getting off to the perfect start in this race, but you can just see that number 1 is all over the back of the number 4 side by side now. This is Arnholm, I believe, versus Vico as they go side by side, and yeah, on this occasion, managing to stay in front is the number 11.
Yeah, that number 11 there, that is Benz Gall and Max Hyam there, the battle you were watching. Able to hold it off there. We're seeing a lot of that aggressiveness through the infield section, not normally what you would expect. By the way, another little bit of a look there up front in that battle for P3. It looked like Halliburton tried to send a little bit of something into Brundle and Nelson, but not exactly playing out. Oh, we've got a couple of off tracks in the back. That's Gall and Towler, it looks like, who have had some problems.
Yeah, they were fighting pretty hard just a moment ago, and they are tumbling down the tower, unfortunately, but as they go through the final corner now. A bit of a squirm there from Cermak. That might allow Halliburton to put some pressure on down in towards turn 1. You can see tucked up nicely in the slipstream. Is it going to be enough? Of course, you're not on the brakes for very long down in towards turn 1, but we've seen how strong that slipstream can be. He is going to dart to the right-hand side. It's Halliburton down under brakes in towards turn 1. He's going to get the move done. Is the number 3 going to go for the old switcheroo down in towards the hairpin? Defensive goes Halliburton. He's going to have to cover off the inside line. Is the number 3 going to go underneath them? He's going to try a bit of contact between the two, and this is going to bring Maldi back into the equation.
Yeah, Maldi right back into the equation here as now the battle for P3 has extended into 3 cars right now. We ride on board with Claudio Maldi in that number 5 machine. When we're started 5th, is currently running 5th right now as they work their way towards Agostini down into the heavy braking zone. A little bit of a wider line, a little bit of a wiggle there for Cermak as they come out of the corner.
Yeah, you can see maybe the pressure getting to him. He lost that position quite clumsily. He really didn't cover off his bases at all down in towards turn 1. And now Halliburton has some free range to try and push and get after Vittori potentially. It all depends on how well Cermak can just keep in the slipstream. Of course, they've got this long straight, as I said, one of the longest in the UK, the Bentley straight down in towards Brundle and Nelson. But as soon as you lose touch that slipstream, of course, it's very easy for it to drag you along. And even if you are a couple of tenths slower a lap, it really is, you know, easy to just stay there. But it seems like Halliburton really is on a charge with some pace. We're stuck behind the number 3, it seems, for a couple of laps. Once he's through, he really is now not looking back at all, setting his sights for P2.
Yeah, he very much is. And by the way, up at the front half of the race, TP Primo is absolutely dominant here, putting down about a 3.5 second gap. Halliburton, though, definitely starting to close in a little bit behind on P2. There is Primo. The gap extending now a little bit more, up to about 3.7, 3.8 seconds. Vittori in second had a little bit of a mistake coming through bomb hole on the last lap, so that has allowed that gap to grow a little bit. And just for good measure, TP Primo setting the fastest lap of the race.
He's really just rubbing it in now, isn't he? He's absolutely flying out in front. Couldn't quite get pole position, but certainly took the lead and is absolutely running away with it. Still 14 minutes left to go. Can't get complacent just yet, but it seems that Halliburton is now all over the back of Vittori as they run through turn 2 in towards turn 3 of Palmer. Is he going to look to the left-hand side? Not quite close enough, but you can see practically pushing him through. And it's certainly eyeing up a move now because Halliburton has got some insane pace.
Yes, he does, and he has seen the mistakes that Vittori has made, trying to figure out which way that. There goes the switcheroo, as you said earlier, Zach, down to the inside of Agostini, and move done and dusted for Kane Halliburton. A great pass down into the left-handed hairpin.
That was absolutely amazing. Couldn't quite decide which way he wanted to go. Right, left, decided on left, committed to it, and it worked out for him. But he's got his work cut out for him if he wants to keep this pace, because Vettori is going to fight it. And as I said, that slipstream down the Bentley straight towards Brundle, that late braking zone of the chicane. As long as the number 4 can get a good exit of Vettori, he might be close enough to eye up another move. But it seems like Halliburton has his bases covered. And yeah, the slipstream just isn't quite strong enough, I don't think. Of course, we saw it at Donington, how well the slipstream was able to keep people in touch. But at the moment, the closing speed just isn't quite there for Vettori.
No, it doesn't quite look like it, but if you do look at that battle from the top 5 on back, Halliburton, Vettori, Cermak, and Maldi, all of them running within about a second or so of one another, so the battle definitely picking up there. Vettori now has to continue to watch his rear view mirrors, as that is Cermak behind him as they come down through Murray's. Good run off the line for Marcel Cermak. This could be a little bit of a push.
Potentially so. The number 3 all over the rear end of the number 4. Cermak versus Vettori. Vettori has really lost some pace. Maybe that mistake has sort of set him off a little bit. We saw, of course, through the final corner that he really was quite squirrely. You can see Cermak certainly eyeing up a move down and towards turn 2. A little bit of a shake there. That was well held from Cermak. Again, very easy to happen as they're coming up to some traffic. The number 7, we saw him on his roof at the start of the race. And yeah, very well done in order to get out of the way.
Yes, indeed, as there they go. The number 3 continuing to haunt behind here. Cermak trying to put the pressure on Vettori. Is he going to have a similar look? Looks like there that it is the same story on a different lap, going down into Agostini, muscling his way on through his Marcel Cermak, as that is going to be move done for now. We'll have to see if Diego Vettori has anything to fight back with here as they work their way through Hamilton, down into the right-hander of Augie's, trying to see if they can carry enough speed on to the Bentley straight. I'm not sure here if that number 4 is going to be able to keep up the pace or not, but he's certainly pushing ahead the best he can. We ride on board with the number 4 now.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, not quite. The slipstream just isn't quite strong enough, I don't think. And yeah, Cermak once again repeating the move that Halliburton done, just to get down the inside of Agostini, and it really is the favourite overtaking opportunity. Vettori has nothing to say down and towards Brundle, nor Nelson. And who's that? Is that Halliburton spinning in front? I think it is. Indeed it is. Maybe the pace was just a little bit too much for him to handle. Cermak and Vettori back. Well, Vettori back onto the podium. Cermak inherits P2, and that is a very clumsy mistake for Halliburton.
Yes, it is, and we're going to go back to check out the replay. This is coming down the Bentley straight. I believe he had this problem going into Brundle and Nelson right here. Oh, and there's been contact between Vettori and Cermak as well. We'll have to go back and check that, but this is the incident with Kane Halliburton going down into Nelson, just carried too much speed through the corner and spun himself around.
Yeah, very easy to do. You really do rely on manipulating the brakes with these cars, and yeah, unfortunately just used a little bit too much, maybe lock the rears or something along those lines, but that is very much a shame for Halliburton. This is potentially what happened with Cermak and Vettori. Indeed it is. Going through Brundle and Nelson, of course, they were pretty close. The number 3 getting a little bit squirrely, and as they go through bomb hole, I think Vettori might just get a little bit desperate. This really isn't a section of the circuit where you can go for a move. Very difficult to do so. And as they go through down and towards the final corner, it really is a long right-hander. Did the number 4 just outbrake himself? Did the number 3 make a mistake and collect him? I think that is going to be the case. You can see Cermak just spun round, and then, unfortunately for Vettori, just got collected by it.
Yeah, Vettori just had to run wide there on the exit of the corner to try to gain back in, and that unfortunately set everything off there. But now, as we reset about halfway through this race, Claudio Maldi finds himself in second place with a very large gap. Kane Halliburton right now running in the final podium position, but Marcel Cermak able to catch back up, and this is your closest battle on the track right now as they work their way out of Williams. This is Halliburton leading Cermak as they come down the Bentley straight.
Yeah, absolutely. Halliburton and Cermak both need to just brush off their mistakes, forget about it, and push on for the final half of this race. And yeah, they're still fighting for a decent position. They've got, well, 4 seconds to Maldi in front, who's done a great job. Very much a quiet horse, and just pushing forward, being consistent, and certainly reaping the rewards of it. But Cermak putting up a bit more of a challenge to Halliburton this time around. We saw, obviously, Halliburton got through on Cermak and just absolutely sailed off into the distance. But this time, Cermak certainly keeping him on his toes, and certainly a looming threat in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, definitely a looming threat, I think is the best way to describe it, as TP Primo, for good measure, sets the fastest lap of the race yet again here, pulling that gap out to Claudio Maldi to about 10 seconds as they run. We ride on board with Cermak here. By the way, that is Luis Arano up ahead of Halliburton. That is some lap traffic. That could cause a little bit of a headache here for the number one. He tries to stick off to the outside there, coming through Wilson, trying to just stay off of the racing line. I think that may compromise Cermak a little bit, though, coming down through Palmer.
Yeah, absolutely. Just wrong place, wrong time. We talk about traffic all the time in endurance racing. Not quite as much in these 20-minute sprint races, but certainly on this occasion it has played a factor and really has made Cermak lose a little bit of touch to Halliburton in front. He wasn't close enough to iron per move, but certainly that time loss is not going to be ideal. But again, there's not really much the number 7 could have done because, you know, they were offline, they were moving out the way. It really was just where you caught them, and late luck certainly wasn't on Cermak's side this time.
No, it was not. As we check back in on the battle for 8th, moving you down the field a little bit, this is Max Heim and Hendrik Adriansens as they pilot their way through Augustini, trying to see what is to be done here. Little bit of an unorthodox line there for Adriansens as they come through. I think that car got a little bit squirrely coming off the corner, maybe kicking up a little bit of grass on the outside, as is wont to do sometimes. Good line, carrying some more momentum as we ride on board with Enrique right now, the number 22 machine. This will be a very good result for him if he's able to finish, especially there. You can see Hyam looking very squirrely coming off of Williams.
Yeah, absolutely. He just needs to analyze his opponent while he's catching up. He can certainly look in front and see what his opponent's doing. He needs to realize where he can catch. And Primo, can we just say, he's setting fastest lap after fastest lap of 45.5 this time around. He really is being so consistent and very quick with it as well. Still 7 minutes left in this race to go, so anything can certainly happen, but he's doing a fantastic job out in front. Really has been faultless since the start of this race. But yeah, Andreasen needs to analyze his opponent and hopefully for him try and find a way through, because yeah, Hayem does not look like the most stable car at the moment.
No, he does not, but Primo now bringing that car through its paces here. He is just, as you said, completely checked out here at this point with an 11.5-second gap over Maldi behind him. The number 2 just can maybe even back off a little bit, not run nearly as hard as he would like to. Let's jump you back to that battle between Heim and Adriansens, though, as this is definitely starting to spice up a little bit. Adriansens able to close down on the front stretch and be able to pull in behind a little bit more. He's going to be threatening going down into Palmer. Not quite close enough to make the move, but at 0.3 of a second and closing, he may have a little bit of a thought into Augustini.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been the favorite place of moves. You can see the number 21 going slightly defensive, just parking it in the middle. I don't think Andreasen was really looking for a move, but the 21 just covering off the bases, because Agostini, as we have seen today, has been a fantastic spot for overtaking. But Andreasen at the moment still just eyeing up the move, waiting for the opportunity, because yeah, with 6 minutes left to go, they're only fighting for P8. He doesn't really need to at all just absolutely launch one down the inside, because again, it's only for P8. It's not like it's for the race win or anything like that. But that 21 is drifting around through Williams, and that's not going to be helping his pace at all. So Andreasen just needs to wait for the moment. Potentially, I think maybe just sit back and wait for the mistake, because at the moment, you could argue it might be inevitable.
I have to agree with you there. It looks like Heim is just overdriving the car a little bit, pushing a little bit too hard to get things going here. And if I am Adriansens, I am just holding back and waiting. The other thing to remember is Halliburton takes the fastest lap of the way from Primo, setting it down a good time there. The other thing to remember is both of these drivers are respectively 21 and 22. Now that is a spin there from Heim.
Yeah, very easy to do. You want to break into that final corner as the car is straight, otherwise the weight distribution of the car is all over the place. The brake load is all over the place, and that's very easy to lock the rears. And well, we literally said half a lap prior that it was inevitable, but yeah, that is unfortunate for Heim. And Andreasen again just taking the easy move. I said thank you very much, and off he went. But yeah, very right in saying that Halliburton's got some really good pace, might still be a threat for P2 in this race. We're going to take another look at what happened to Heim. The 21 coming through, and yeah, again, I think just on the brakes a little bit too early. We're still turning and just asked a little bit too much of the car.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Just asked a little bit too much of the car. Maybe some rear brake lockup pulling out there. Not the best move for him. But, oh, we've had an incident for Maldi. Maldi is off right now. That's going to promote Kane Halliburton up into P2. Marcel Cermak up into P3. We'll have to go back on a replay to find out exactly what happened. But this looked like it was coming out of Williams. He just got a little bit too wide, touched that grass, and tried to keep it pointed the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. That is an unfortunate mistake from Mount. He probably saw the delta of Halliburton behind, and maybe he was trying to overdrive the car a little bit too much. Just it literally was just a slight bit of oversteer. That curb raises the car up just a little bit, and then the car just sort of bottoms out in a sense and completely spun around. He did well not to come back onto the path of anyone in front and rejoin pretty safely. So yeah, hats off to him for that one. But that is certainly going to be unideal, considering how up until this point really was faultless. Was that person that was sort of just, you know, silent but deadly was there, not quite on the pace of the guys in front, but as soon as they made their mistakes, was able to reap the rewards for it, and unfortunately now has made a mistake of his own and now down into P6, which really is an unfortunate way to end, well, not necessarily end, well, get to the end of this race, but yeah, he's going to be driving around bittersweet. Yes, it's P6, still decent, but could have been P2.
Exactly. He could have had that position, and that's one of the things about Snetterton. This is a devilishly tricky circuit. You've got to be on your game the entire way. And one driver who really has been on their game, I've got to give credit to her, is Kane Halliburton. He got involved in the scuffle a little bit earlier on in this race. I think that certainly put him down the order a little bit, and now we are seeing the outright pace of that car. He may not have had the pace to be able to catch in on TP Primo, but I would have liked to have seen that battle play itself out. Primo, by the way, working down the Bentley straight. I'm keeping an eye on the clock right now because we are either going to be 2 or 1 laps to go at the line, depending.
It'll be very, very close indeed. But yeah, as you say, I completely agree. If Primo and Halliburton were on the front row 1 and 2, it would have been a fantastic race between the two, because Halliburton, as you say, once he's in clean air, once he's got some motivation to go for it, has shown to have some incredibly good pace and certainly wasn't scared to make a move either. So yeah, I think it would have been nice to have Primo have a bit of a challenge, but unfortunately that's not how things transpired. I think it is going to be 2 more to go as we're running about 1:45 lap times, and Primo now crossing the line. So 2 to go, and Primo with a 16-second lead does not want to be pushing this one at all, because we've seen how easy it is to make some mistakes, and after a pretty much faultless drive from here till now, he does not want to be bottling it with 2 laps to go.
No, he certainly does not, although he does have a little bit of wiggle room. He's got about a 15-second advantage over Kane Halliburton, and so that is certainly going to be helping him out. As you said, 2 laps to go here. Halliburton really trying to push it. Even though Halliburton does have the fastest lap of the race, let us please note that it is only by 100th of a second, and still on the last couple of laps, TP Primo has still been able to pull away lap after lap on a more consistent basis, as he now goes through Augustini for the penultimate time. This number 2 just looking absolutely dominant.
That car really has been on rails. You look at it and it's not squirming around at all. It's just completely under control. Primo brakes in a straight line, gets the car pitched in, gets it turned, accelerates, and it's responding. It really is just on rails and being so consistent, not really seeing any forms of twitches or things like that. And just look at the consistency. His best is a 45.5. His last lap was a 45.5 as well. So he's just been absolutely on nailing every lap after lap. And it's not been like he's been, you know, consistent but slightly slower. He's been consistent but up there with some of the fast laps. Of course, Halliburton's fastest lap is only a 45.4, and he's consistently doing 45.5s. So yeah, Primo has really been the star of this race today.
Yeah, he has. I mean, lap.
And I think DJ just suffering with a couple of technical difficulties. Of course, we can't help it, which, of course, I found out the hard way a little bit earlier on, which is slightly unfortunate that these things happen and plague us. But you can see Primo now coming on to the final lap of this race, and I'm sure DJ would have been completely in agreement with me in that Primo has been the absolute star of this race, and hopefully we've got DJ back, fingers crossed. Of course, DJ, we certainly have had the poor stick, the bad end of the stick in terms of luck today.
Yeah, we have. Apologies for that. My internet just decided to cut out there for about 30 seconds just to mess with me. But we check back in here as the clock ticks down closer and closer to 0 right now. Getting to go here and there, officially on the final lap. We get our way back around.
Yeah, and Primo just needs to bring it home. He's got a matter of corners left in this race before he brings it home for the victory. And yeah, I'm really enjoying these iR-04s just wrestle their way around, you know, any type of circuit. It really has been. And once again, that is a very sideways car that we've seen. These cars aren't particularly easy to drive, but these guys certainly do know how to tame them. once again, I think DJ's internet really isn't liking him at all. So hopefully he can get it back in before Primo crosses the line. He's now coming in towards Brundle for the final time, and again just has to bring it home yeah, absolutely just nail every apex from here until now. And yeah, fingers crossed DJ can get himself back in. I'm sure he's doing absolutely everything he possibly can. And now through Forum for the final time and towards the final corner is Primo. And yeah, he's doing an absolutely fantastic job. He has done a fantastic job, DJ. He's only got one more corner left to go.
Yes, he does. Down through Murray's. He brings that car all the way through as they go. Working down, and he will cross over the start-finish line to take victory here. TP Primo with a dominant performance here at Snetterton. Zach Halliburton had some good speed, but just caught in some battles early on as TP Primo taking the fastest lap of the race on that last time by.
Yeah, absolutely. He just had to rub it in a little bit, had to take the fastest lap, couldn't let Halliburton have any form of glory whatsoever. TP Primo doing absolutely everything he can. This is about for fifth. It's been raging on. You can see Maldi in the number 5, and oh, there goes Marion, spin round on the final corner, and there goes the number 5, going to swoop in to take 5th place. Maldi certainly hasn't had the best of luck, and unfortunately has made some mistakes, but yeah, that's going to be slightly less of a blow to cross home in 5th place. And again, it's one of those things, the pressure on that final lap, down in towards what is such a tricky corner through Corm and then in towards that final corner of Murray's. It's just, you know, you're asking so much of the car through that long right, and then you're asking the car to just smack onto the brakes, and it is so difficult. But yeah, Snetterton, it really has been a race of attrition.
Yeah, it most certainly has. This track just really catching people out left, right, and center all day long. We watched this final battle playing out between Wessels and Shinkovich. As they come across the line, it looks like Wessels is going to be able to hold out, and indeed he is taking on that final 10th place position.
Yeah, managing to secure 10th place. Of course, you go into a race, you want to set yourself some milestone. Of course, finishing the race obviously helps, but then you go, okay, we got some good pace here. Let's go for a top 10, maybe a top 5 podium, and then a win. And yeah, certainly a top 10 is a good way to round it out. But that certainly was, and obviously not the most action-packed in terms of wheel-to-wheel action, but it really was an interesting race to see how these drivers combated Snetterton and how tricky of a circuit it is. It certainly did play testament to how tricky these club circuits can be.
Yes, it most certainly did. As there we walk you through that final finishing order you can see on your screen. TP Primo able to take the victory over Halliburton. As we said, Cermak rounding out your top 3, your top podium positions. After them, it was Diego Vittorio, followed by Maldi, Marin, Adriansons, Tapia, Vico, Heim, and Wessels to round out your top 10. Remember, Wessels able to hold off Shinkovich at the line. Bernice Gall there behind them, and David High, the last driver on the lead lap. Stefan Edmeyer was in 14th, 1 lap down. Arano 2 laps down, and then we get into some of the drivers who had a very rough day. Luis Arano, Towler, Arnholm, Carr Smith, Veenhoff, and McCready in your top 20 there. And I believe the last 2 drivers didn't actually end up gridding up. But Zach, once again, these iR-04s putting on a great show for us and proving just why the Formula iR-04 Challenge is our selection for Friday night primetime. It is fantastic stuff.
Yeah, really looking forward to every Friday evening or wherever you are in the world. Of course, in the UK, it will be evening for me. But yeah, just week in, week out, I look forward to coming, sitting down and watching these cars race alongside you, DJ. Because yeah, you know, it doesn't matter where we go, it doesn't matter what track we go to. These guys always find a way to put on a good show. You know, we could go to an F1 circuit where, of course, it's naturally going to be some fantastic racing. We could go to a slightly tighter circuit, like here at Snetterton or over at Donington, and they would still put on a good race. And it doesn't matter where we go, what we do, these guys always give us some action.
Well, speaking of a tighter, twistier circuit, next time out we head to Knock Hill on the international layout, so you are not going to want to miss that. But as for today, that's just about going to wrap things up for us. My name is DJ Clark, and on behalf of Zach Sweeney and Joshua Lee behind the scenes, we would like to thank you for joining us here today for Friday Night Prime Time, watching the Formula iR-04 Challenge. Once again, thank you for watching, and until we see you on the track, thank you.